Good evening, and I hope this finds you well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing as you tune in. I felt led tonight to share a few brief thoughts about prayer and about our relationship with God, the closeness of it, and listening to God. And I do that because recently I felt challenged about this myself through some things I was reading that helped me realise that in some ways I probably drifted a bit from that closeness that I've known in the past. That I guess just to some of the challenges and responsibilities of life had overtaken and become much more dominant in my thoughts and in what I focused on day to day. And also just in that context we have at the moment in life where there's so much information out there that's competing for our attention and so much that's going on in the world that can kind of at times just seem to drown out perhaps just that time to listen to God. And I don't know about you, but on a personal level, I really need to have that time to stop, to slow down, to be still, to really hear from God. Usually just have to unburden myself first to get the things off my chest before I'm even in a good position to listen. And recently, as I've been more conscious of that and I've been trying to build this type of conversation more back into life, I've been so encouraged as I've been feeling like I've been hearing from God fresh, and it's become a more natural thing again in the day-to-day for me, which in itself has been a real answer to prayer. I'd like to share a few thoughts, a few verses, things that Paul wrote in his letters to various churches, all in a similar theme. He wrote to the church in Thessalonica, pray without ceasing. He wrote to the church in Philippi, pray about everything. And the church in Ephesus, he wrote, pray at all times. Also just wanted to share with you a quote from Brother Lawrence, who some of you may be familiar with. He was a cook in a French monastery back in the 17th century. By all accounts, a very humble man, whose writings after his death were pulled together into a short book. I'm sure it would be much to his surprise that they were, in a book called The Practice of the Presence of God, which by all accounts has become a classic in Christian literature, and I'm sure many people watching will be familiar. He writes in one of his writings, there is not in the world a kind of life more sweet and delightful than that of a continual conversation with God. And if I can paraphrase the next bit, he says, we can only understand that truth if we practice it and we experience it for ourselves. I find the word practice really helpful here, because it's something that we have to work at, something that we have to do, something we have to practice as a deliberate effort in making it a priority in our lives to develop that kind of relationship with God. And not something that I think we should see as a burden or a chore or in some way required to earn our salvation, but rather as a real source of delight, as Brother Lawrence said. Because when we develop that kind of relationship with God in our lives, it helps us to develop the kind of peace that he wants to bring into our lives. And it becomes a source of lightening our burden rather than increasing it, as we find God's strength and comfort and guidance in all our situations day to day. It's amazing, really, that we have access to God, the maker, the creator of all things, who has power over all things. And if we're able to take the time and just to build that naturally into the rhythms of our life, that conversation with him, we have access to his great resources, which I know for me has made such a difference in these last couple of weeks. So my encouragement tonight to those who are watching and listening is just to join me as we try to develop that kind of relationship with God, as imperfect as it might be.